Welcome back to Arise Prime Time. I'm Charles Aniegolu. Now, a new legal and political test is emerging in the long road to the 2027 general election, and it goes to the heart of who ultimately decides the candidates Nigerians get to vote for. The ruling APC has reviewed the outcome of several of its National Assembly primaries, restoring some serving senators who had earlier lost their tickets and replacing candidates who were initially declared winners. But Inec says there is a line political parties cannot cross, and that only candidates who emerged from primaries monitored by the Commission and whose names match the results already uploaded onto its electronic portal will be accepted, and any attempts to submit different names, it insists, will be automatically rejected. So where does the law end and party discretion begin? Can parties legitimately revisit the outcome of their own primaries through internal appeal mechanisms? Or has INEC's sanitization process fundamentally changed the rules of Nigerian politics? Well, for his invaluable assessment, I'm joined now in the studio by Arise Politics editor and director of news, Sumner Sambo. Good to see you, Sumner.
Thank you so much, Charles.
INEC says any name submitted by a political party that does not tally with the result of the primary election already uploaded by the Commission will be automatically rejected. Is that now an absolute rule?
Yes, it looks so from the discretionary powers of INEC. I mean, it has a right to do that, but it's contextual. Because if you take a look at what the Electoral Act says, INEC is only supposed to go to the party primaries, monitor, write its report, and bring back. And then the Supreme Court had previously ruled that it's the political party that actually nominates candidates. So it's the one that determines who is its candidate.
Yes.
But then can the political party determine for itself a candidate who did not take part in the party primaries as its candidate before INEC? And I think that's the legal and moral question that INEC is trying to answer and say, look, you can't bring someone who didn't participate in the party primary to be to emerge as the winner of the party primary election.
And just explain to us what the APC is actually doing at the moment.
Okay, so what the APC is doing at the moment is that it's taking the views of its members, high-ranking leaders, and then, some political office holders into, perspective. Now, you go to some areas, there are some lawmakers that have not performed very well, senators, House of Reps, and all of that. There are some who try to muzzle their way to actually hold phantom primaries, and at the end of the day, results were just brought into place where even INEC may not have necessarily monitored all the elections. And then in some areas, while the original team that was sent from the national headquarters, the national secretariat to go and conduct the primary election was ongoing with their coalition, and then conduct of the primary and coalition, then some of these people who may be incumbent federal lawmakers or even state lawmakers who saw that they were losing out, then went ahead and held their own
and presented
primary
elections.
Having their own, people who conducted the election claiming to have been sent from the national secretariat and presenting their results, and then some of them using that opportunity to go to maybe the presidential villa because they have access to the president or the national chairman and all of that, using that influence to now want to suppress the original team. And then you also have instances where some of the teams dispatched from the national secretariat to go and conduct these primary elections got, influenced.
Yes.
Whether by monetary influence or other influential people talking to them and all of that. And maybe, for example, the chairman of the committee will run away and announce his own candidate. And then other members don't know.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, and things like that happen. And so these are all the things that the national secretariat of the party is not having to take a look at.
Right.
And then there's an appeal committee where some of these people petition the appeal committee, and then the national secretariat is claiming that it's the outcome of that appeals committee that has now led to the substitution of some of these candidates, despite their emergence. Now, what beggars believe is whether the Electoral Act was actually followed alongside the Inec timetable. Because the Electoral Act says clearly that you can't just go ahead and substitute someone who won a party primary election, except maybe there's a withdrawal of the candidacy of that person. And the person has to do it in writing, and then he would have to go and submit it to the party secretariat. And then if you're withdrawn, you have to go and swear to a court affidavit and all of that. So it's clearly outlined. And then you now take a look at it. INEC too also monitor some of these primaries, and they saw what happened.
Yeah.
And so within their own monitoring of these party primaries, they've seen the winners emerging and all of that, especially in areas where the results were not disputed. So why are you changing those names?
Right, and that's a very critical point, isn't
and INEC
it?
had to take that point because of what happened in the last elections,
Yes.
where you had Senator Akpabio, Godswill Akpabio, who went to contest the presidential election, presidential primaries of the party, only for him to come back and through some subterfuge and all of that, eventually got the ticket of the party. The same thing with Ahmed Lawan,
Yes.
president of the Senate then, who left his position to, who by the virtue of his position decided to go and contest the party primary, and someone was already declared, and through some sort of subterfuge and all of that within the party,
it came back to him.
and the influence of the presidency,
Yeah.
they just came back. And the issues went to the Supreme Court. So I think the party on its side is also trying to prevent some of these problems. But if the party doesn't know how to handle it, I think INEC, because INEC also doesn't want a situation whereby it will get into trouble in court, especially with judges, it may decide to reject some of these candidates.
Right.
And APC
Well,
will lose out.
basically, INEC appears to be saying that it is bound solely by what its officials witnessed. I mean, that seems to be the point.
Yeah, but not legally binding.
Right.
Because INEC, if you look at clearly what the Electoral Act says, I mean, you will see clearly there that INEC is just to go there and monitor,
Right.
take notes on what it's observed, and go.
Yeah,
so
but,
now,
but if,
those notes,
what it observed
Yeah.
goes contrary to what it sees its role as, in other words, if it's there to observe that these things were conducted properly and they were not, or things were substituted, what would those notes that it takes amount to?
all they have to await is for the candidate that has been deprived, that's the person who, in quotes, claimed he won, and
Right.
maybe INEC saw it, is for him or her to approach the court. And then what the court will now do is
It's
to
called
subpoena
INEC,
INEC
right.
and said, okay, look, this person has brought a complaint to me
Right.
as a judge that he won the election, she won the election, but the party decided through its appeals committee or through the leadership of the party or through a presidential influence to bring somebody else. This is the evidence that he or she has. The party agent, the agent that he has submitted this and all of that. He was announced and all of that. His agent signed and all of that. Now, INEC, what did you see? That's when INEC will now bring the
Right.
results of its monitoring.
So
but INEC cannot
politicians-
impose
Right. So
that on the party.
I see the point you're making. So politicians accusing INEC of becoming more than an electoral umpire and refusing to accept revised lists. I mean, that by doing that, the commission is effectively determining who political parties can field.
Yeah, and that's why it has to be careful.
Right.
So as not to go ultra-vires.
Because it
beyond
sounds
its powers.
interventionist,
Yes,
doesn't it? Right.
yes, but it's between morality and legality.
Right.
Because INEC is trying to say, look, we saw whatever happened, and we know those who emerged right there. But then the party has been given the powers by the Supreme Court as being the sole custodian of the candidacy of the party. So of the party. So it's the only one that nominates its candidates.
Right.
You can't tell, INEC can't tell the political party who is its candidate. But INEC can be a witness to how that candidate emerges, take down some notes, and then preserve the notes and wait to see if the process goes to court so that a judge subpoenas
Right.
them
But what
or not.
about-
But if they don't,
Right.
well, the party has the right. Because in court, on the ballot of INEC, it is not the candidate's name that is there. It is the party's name that is there.
Right. But what about the point that has been made, certainly in reports around this, that INEC has an electronic portal that will automatically reject names that do not correspond with Inec's uploaded records. I mean, is that system truly that automated, or is there still room for human discretion within
That's why I
the
said,
commission?
if it's automated,
Right.
INEC may be going ultra-vires, going above its powers.
Right.
Because it's only a political party that can tell INEC who
Yes.
its candidate is.
Right.
But then the Electoral Act went ahead to say, look, this is the procedure for nominating that candidate and all of that. So if the party wants to insist that it wants to change its candidate, it has to be careful because, look, the conduct of the primaries started, I think, from April 23 to 30th of May. Now, that's where I also have a problem with the appeals committee. If whatever the party is trying to do now goes outside that window of May to April 23 to May 30th, then I think the appeals committee's decision cannot hold water because INEC's timetable says the candidates and the appeal process must be conducted between 23rd of April and 30th. Now we are seeing these results being released June or July. So INEC has a right to now say that, look, the candidate did not emerge, or the appeal
within
process
that window.
within that window. So it is only those who won the primary election within that window that we will accept.
Yes. That's,
So
that's a
it's
fascinating
a dicey situation.
fascinating idea. And as always, Sumner, we appreciate the way that you put it in context for us. I mean, a lot of people will understand it better now. Sumner Sambo is Arise Politics editor and director of news. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching.